So it's.
So this one from 70
I was in a
to
Christmas
4, so now it's a
party
16
and we're
foot
like,
variance
"Oh,
rather
it's
than
perhaps the 80s."
So you were in law school. You know, Kate Edmund? She would have been. She does a lot of work with the police unions.
Party and we're like,
We having apparently spot a lot of problems.
Okay. All right. Okay, good evening. I'd like to call the Thursday, July 15th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Rochester to order. Secretary is not present, so I'll take roll. Mr. Wassel. Present. Ms. Bressler. Mr. Fisher. Is absent. Mr. Berenger. He's absent as well. Ms. Vinton sit in for, so that we have a quorum. We'll take the alternate.
Present.
And Mr. Starr is present as well. All right, the first item on the agenda is the continued application of Tom Sturgis, an area variance at 442 Towpath Road. Now, the last meeting, we had passed a motion that we would schedule a public hearing if Mr. Sturgis submitted the plat with setbacks and dimensions on it by the July 1st documentation deadline. That did not happen. Since that time, so we did not schedule a public meeting. Since then, he has submitted documentation with dimensions on it. So if we could just first start by reviewing that this document to see if there's any dimensions that we would like him to add to it for the next meeting prior to the schedule of the public hearing. So you have all of you have it in front of you. I know the one that the one dimension that I'm interested in is from the building to the front of the street setback.
Mhm.
I don't see that on there, so we'd like to see what that dimension is. Also, it appears to me that the rear setback from the building back to the stream bank is 84.1 feet. I think your original application listed it as 70 feet rather than 84.
Well, the building was it's smaller in dimension.
Right.
Than the, what can I say, the rectangle that was used on the first, what can I say, a site plan that actually, I mean, I was following instructions. So
Yeah.
we had a site plan, that one passed.
Okay.
That you've brought up other questions. So I asked the surveyor to give us more detail. And that he added greater detail of contours.
Right.
So you can see that the land is relatively flat where the building is proposed to go.
Right.
That the actual, if you look at it, it goes from one end to the other. It probably shifts, the land probably shifts no more than about 2 feet in height.
Right.
He's given you some setbacks from the stream bank, but we shifted the building because I had seen, I thought the building itself, when I measured it myself, this is about where I thought it would go. Was about 100 feet back from everything else.
So it's actually the dimension here
It says 84.
for to the building, but what I'd like to understand is how much the building encroaches in this setback. Is this the
In the front
difference?
yard setback?
No, it's. I'm gonna
It
have a
would
tough time
encroach-
explaining it.
Okay.
So
it
from
would
the,
encroach
from the,
roughly, from what, roughly 10, if I can move the building back 6 feet from where it is here on the map, it would encroach 10 feet into the setback from the high water mark. And the reason for making that request, I requested 15-foot variance. Okay, the reason for making that request is that I wanted to be able to put the stream side edge of whatever I put in, could be a full foundation basement. It allows me to expose that wall for access to underneath, because the bank drops it down. And so I can have that wall exposed. And that the porch side goes over that side of the building, that then produces also a little bit of a shelter area.
getting way ahead of myself here. I'm getting a little confused.
If I come
Mr.
back
Sturgis
6
to come
feet,
So,
over
yeah,
so
why
we
don't you
Come on
take a look
over
at
so
it
you
so you
can
can
see.
see, yeah, what I'm grabbing the copy. So I understand the building from the stream is 86 feet, but the 100-yard, the
84 feet.
84.
84.
Right. Setback is here, right? This is the
100-foot
foot
setback.
setback is this blue line
Right.
going across. I want to understand how much this from here to here is. Are you saying that's just the 15.9 feet?
Well, that would be, yeah, that would be like 16 feet. Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So you're saying it's the 84 plus whatever gets you to the 100? Is that
Makes
distance
it-
right here?
Well, when I did my measurement, I went from here. I think I was up in here, looked back like this. So the surveyor looked at what the closest distance was.
Okay,
So there is a narrowing of the bank in here. So he came up with this.
So this calculation comes to 16 feet.
Correct.
That, excellent.
Okay, so
I'm good.
my request is for a 15-foot variance, which allows me to move the building, if I could move it back 6 feet and be within the 15-foot area. And I said something 5, I think I asked for 10 on this side. I wouldn't need 10. Because if you simply come back, it's only a small house.
So the variance that was submitted,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to, we have all sorts of security. It's not my fault.
He's just gonna grab everyone's phones.
That's right, I'm
not a problem.
Keep going. So this is for, the structure is 70 feet away from the high water line, a 30-foot variance. That's what
That was the
the
first,
application that came in.
that was the
is,
first site plan,
Okay,
but that was a bigger footprint of a building than this one
yeah,
actually
understood.
is.
Well,
We understand.
if I understand what you're saying, it was a bigger footprint plus you moved the building.
Correct.
So two things happen.
Right, so now, rather than a 30-foot variance, you're asking for a 16-foot variance.
Or even less, because I intend to move the building back a little bit.
Okay,
Uh,
so
But I
in
wanted to
that,
show you where it was in line roughly with the original survey.
Yep.
So I
That's
left
all.
it there.
so where I'm going is, the application should be revised to show the reduction in the ask on the application, right? That's easy to do, that's just an administrative activity,
yeah.
but it has to be correct. So
That's
rather than looking for a 30% variance, we're looking for a 16% variance. That's significant difference, right? It's half,
And maybe less if you go
and maybe
back
less
even
if you move
further.
it back.
Well,
Right?
I'm moving, well, what I'm asking for is if I move it back 6 feet.
Yep.
Then what we're talking about is likely something closer to a 10-foot variance.
Exactly.
10%.
That's a, right. And now, okay, so we have, this one, I think I
Right.
understand.
But it may require a little something here.
I do, I have a tangential question. It
Go ahead.
doesn't go to the main, doesn't go to the main issue, it's really an aside. You're talking about having a full basement that goes out to daylight on the side of the house where the flooding could occur, right?
Well, but it's above.
It is.
It's elevated. Okay. I mean, the floodplain, what was in the other one? The floodplain is actually,
Yeah.
it's in here somewhere.
Right.
It's flood zone is this
Right.
solid blue line, and
Right, so it's
Yes.
like-
the topography here, these dotted lines are they 2-foot increments?
Yes.
Yeah, if you see this one's 250, this was 260.
2, 4,
I did my 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 2-foot contours.
so somewhere in there,
It's outside, it's
I
well
hope you
outside.
consider the possibility of flood water getting into your, going directly into your
Well,
basement.
this is the 100-year floodplain line.
Yeah.
So I would be here.
Yeah.
And if there's a basement, it might be down 6 feet, it might not be. Depends on what I have underneath. I'm not sure, because I can build up.
Right, you were talking about bringing in additional materials
Well, you can.
at one point.
Okay, so I don't know what's below. I can tell you that where the electric meter was put in, here, there's surface rock, which I think you noticed.
Yes.
Okay. The boulder sits on that surface rock.
Okay,
right next to the boulder, it's 2 or 3 feet of soil. And so I'm assuming it may follow but I don't know. The slant of the stream, because there was 8 feet of soil plus, and there was certainly decent soil over here.
Right.
And there's a rock outcropping.
So now now the basement and anything that you were talking about, a basement and a porch, all of that considered within this red rectangle? Okay.
Because my assumption was decks and porches were not deemed principal part of the building.
So you'll end up, when comes time to build the deck and the porch, you'll come back for another permit, certainly.
I was gonna say, yeah, no, if you're putting a deck and porch on, they are included.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, that's included, they can't be within the setback.
the plans that you had, it's a cabin, right? I took a look at it. And, does that have what you're talking, like the deck in the plan itself?
Yeah, well, the one I submitted, yeah, has a 10-foot.
So is that plan, is that the total outside dimension? of
No,
your
it was just
footprint?
the foundation.
It's just a
this is just a foundation.
So you would have
Okay.
like some kind of counter tubes or something like that to support the deck? Like outside of this?
So that has to be, those dimensions have to be added to this thing, because it has to be considered all at one time.
Okay, then
Right.
I would put that note in there.
Right, so now this is
So
something,
this is-
so now you'll have to go back to.
It's only a new
Yeah.
line. and
That's going on
number.
the front setback then, the deck? What-
The deck, I wanted to face the stream.
The stream.
Yeah, so.
So over the porch, over the basement opening.
Yeah, but
Ah,
this,
right,
it's a be a screened-in porch to, I mean,
Got
that's the recreational area of the property, so we want that to be on that side of the building.
How wide is that deck?
It's 32 by 10.
10 feet deep. Okay.
Right.
So you're
You're back at.
adding the 10-foot back. to-
Right.
And then just a deck on the back, nothing on the sides, or.
Well, I would put okay, then obviously I might have a little deck in this area, that would walk around and we'd have an entrance coming in this way, because I was gonna have the entrance to the house through the bush area, actually here, so I have to.
So then if we're building out on this side, then the dimensions that it is to the front yard, so the front yard here as well, so. Setback.
It's still gonna be less than a 30-foot
Variance.
even with your deck, if that has back onto it. Still gonna be less.
Okay, I'll have to
Yeah.
get it
We would then.
scaled. What is the setback from the front road? From the road, I'm just
In
curious.
an R5, I think it's 35.
If this is 50,
That's not.
this is 50, so this is certainly within that distance. I mean, it's a greater distance than 50 feet.
You'll have to answer before I even have my computer turned on.
I have another question, but I don't want to change topics until. Okay. We were talking about an adjoining lot and the possibility, and I'd rather use your word here about combining. the two.
I own the adjoining lot.
Right, or you mentioned something about potentially combining the two. Is that still, is that your plan, or is that a
Yeah.
definite, or? what do
Yeah,
you-
I don't see, I mean, there's a cabin
Yes,
that is, it's not derelict, but it's, give it 20 years and it will be, a real issue. And there's no reason to put extra money into it. The idea is to demolish it. Okay, just return, there's a well there. That was a potential building site at one point.
and then do a lot line revision, I think it's
Yeah,
called?
just to just combine the properties, make it one property. It's 5.78 acres total. No, 4.7.
If they were combined, and you're almost to the 5.
Yeah,
50 foot is a setback. in R5.
all of front and side.
Does that include septic? Septic have to be set back, or is it the building?
buildings.
Septic, there is something, I think it's a lot less than that. though. I don't
It's
know.
away from the well. It's the-
From
Right,
the property
it has to
line, right,
be-
yeah.
That has to be drilled.
Yes, it is.
15, 20 feet.
And they're gonna be for third floor by the health department.
Right, right, so that, yeah. So a little bit more homework for the,
Yeah, so if you're
Survey.
putting the decks on now, it has to be shown now, because you're not gonna be able to just put a deck on.
Okay.
If you're gonna do it sometime in the future,
you're gonna be
you
back
can
here
choose to
anyway.
come back in the future, but might be better to get it all done.
Get it now.
As much as you like us, and we like you, it might be
Well, the
easier.
deck is actually integral for the building itself. So it's, if you're going with that structure, you have to do the deck, really, because it's, I saw.
So I
looking
could
at-
just, I could just use stairs. They come up from the ground up to the side of the porch area.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but as the more I
They
thought,
still
of it,
count
They're-
different
they
options.
count.
well, they, and the more I
It's
thought
part of
about
the
it, it just
structure,
made sense.
Right.
It just,
Yeah.
it would just,
It'd be beautiful, if nothing else.
it's meant to
Yeah,
be,
yeah, looking out, when it's raining, I can imagine.
it's meant to be a cabin in the woods to enjoy the woods.
Yeah.
Right.
And you want an area that's free from mosquitoes. When,
Have you been by
Good
with
luck.
all this rain we've had?
yeah, I was there this weekend.
Yeah. How do things look?
Not bad, actually. I'm in routine contact with my neighbor, Melissa. You probably know Melissa.
It's been unbelievable amount of rain we've had, so it's a good test in a way.
It's not been, the cabin, it's been there since the thirties, some mid-30s. It's never flooded. Even with everything that the area's seen, it's gone around it. The stream curves away at that area, so the water flow comes down, it seems to go up the opposite bank.
Okay.
So I still can't see putting money into it. It is in the flood zone. I just can't do it.
Yeah, eventually, so.
I mean, you can't get insured. whatever.
And you-
Yeah.
So just, so, we talked a little bit about what we look at as far as on the state DEC side, as far as conservation areas and things like that, and just, I don't know if you can see this, but.
Yeah, I went through with the agent in New Paltz. We talked about everything, and I was actually looking to get approval, because that's what code enforcement seemed to indicate they want. They wouldn't give an approval because there was no permit issued. Everything we talked about, it didn't apply. So he said, oh, well, I'm not gonna approve anything that doesn't really require approval. So, it's not a wetland. It's not a wetland. It's, there's
So let's
no-
run through some of the layers. of this. And this was, the forest conditions. It's in top percent of forest in the state, which is pretty
Bush Creek, it's
I mean,
heavily
that's-
forested.
exactly.
It's gonna,
We look at other layers,
So a
You know.
lot of good.
rare species, et cetera, it kind of rings the bell. And, with the brown, known important area for rare terrestrial animals, that's the bald eagle. So it's coming in there. It's coming for important. It's the green, sorry, important bat foraging area. I believe. Important area for rare plants as well. It abuts that.
mhm,
When we look at it for watershed, riparian water, right?
Yeah.
This, I believe this is a watershed. It's gonna dither a while, but let's jump to the other one while we wait. This is the estuary.
mhm.
It's an average stream condition,
It's a designated trout stream, I
right?
believe.
And
So you won't find a lot in there.
Right.
Maybe further up.
Okay.
But in this area, my niece and nephew come in and with their, 3, 4, 5-year-old. Once in a while, they catch something, believe it or not.
It's been fished.
It has been fished, but do you know how big they are?
They're minnows.
So
Fairly
so where
small.
I'm going with this is, it appears that it's a pretty sensitive area that you want to build in, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's a beautiful spot. It's easy to understand if you want to build there. But, part of this is, we'd like to see it protected as well, right? So that, it's not just clear cut and,
Well,
the next thing.
that's not gonna be a clear cut.
Right. So, one of the things the board can do is provide approval for your proposal with certain conditions,
Mhm.
things like that. And I was just curious, what do you think are reasonable conditions so that we can allow you to build where you want to build, but still put protections around the area in order to do it? I mean, one of the things you spoke about was combining the two lots that you're tearing down one decent and combining the lots. And that certainly would prevent building in the future.
Right.
Right?
Because it will no longer, it'll lose its grandfather status.
Right. You can couldn't subdivide it because it's an R5 district. So that's certainly a consideration that really isn't outside of what you were thinking already.
No.
It sort of fell into that same thing. Are there other things that you think that you could suggest as sort of help?
Well, one thing I'd like to do, and I'm just gonna throw it out, there, I'm not gonna commit myself to it, it's gonna cost some money. So I don't wanna commit myself to it. All the bare rock that's on 436, that is there because people like rock there. And then when it flooded, it washed everything away. I wanted to stay on the soil and plant stuff. And actually raise it up, it'll be a little higher than the road, some portions of it. The idea is that the flood water doesn't go through there. Because some flood water comes down the road when it really floods. So the idea is to bring that back. There's plantings, certainly blueberries work in this area. But you let,
Those plants attenuate the flooding. Yeah, they really, they
right,
give the water somewhere to go.
but we're talking, I've already sized it out, it's about 1,500 yards of material, so
Wow.
at $8 a yard. And 8 to 9, I'm not sure what it is now. It may have gone up just with the recent construction activity. So it's not something I want to commit to, but it's something that it sounds like you're amenable to. If I would propose something like that at some point. It's basically a renaturalization, bringing it back to where it might have been 150 years ago.
When I took a look at the lot when I went out, I noticed a lot of I think they're oak trees, I don't know what type, but they're
It's like red oak.
along the road, a lot of oak trees, and I know some have been taken down. I saw a bunch with red spray marked X's on them.
One is
What's
where
the
the
plan?
town has already indicated on the first go around, where they thought they might want to have egress. The driveway was in here. Now, this is the post for the existing metal gate, okay? And this is all stone. This area here is low. And so I had the superintendent of highways come by and he said, that's where I would like to see your driveway go in, and then it goes up on the stone.
I think in this area here is where the trees are that I'm remembering.
Well,
with the red X.
I have red X's
Yeah.
here and here, and I have some over here, and there's one in here. And the reason for that, they all lean in the direction of the power lines. And they're heavy leaners. So one of my first act would be to take down something that could knock down a power line. That's why those are X.
Aside from the risk to the power line and to the existing structure, what
They-
about
they-
the other trees? How do you feel about?
The more trees, the better, as long as they're not dangerous to the building.
And like the chair was talking about putting something like an agreement on paper, almost like a, not almost, it's a
It is.
covenant.
That would be actually no problem.
You're okay with that?
Well, because I mean, the land would be stripped. They're flooded because there are no trees in it. And it's delicate forest land.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you expose it, if you don't have those roots, you're gonna lose the soil.
Right. Yep.
And that's what happened at 436. Person who lived, Marion Coleman, she passed in the mid-60s. That's how we acquired the property. An artist, she knew Chagall when he was here in High Falls. The cabin still has a, do you know Mutt and Jeff cartoon? Remember that? Have you heard of it? Okay, well, Ben Fisher, the cartoonist, drew on the bathroom door, and it has a plexiglass plate on it protecting of his drawings. So there's a little history there. There's certain things I want to preserve, but it's, she had a lot of people use it. And I remember my family used it when I was 5, 6, and we parked on the stone. And it was also an area that was, there was a quarry, it was quarry. And there's a lot of broken stone up in the woods for millstone.
I know I raised a couple of points in the last meeting, and one of them was about, the character of the neighborhood and how close things were to each other. So combining the two properties addresses the one thing, because now you're gonna be separated.
From the cabins coming down.
And the
making open
cabin is
space.
in keeping with what is in that area. So that addresses that issue that I raised.
We use it for camping. Family comes in and I have a, one of these, it's hard to see it from the street, but it's this brownish polypropylene netting that's fairly close knit. And it gives you like a privacy. I have it in the trees, so it's hard to matches the tree colors.
Okay.
And behind that is a great little camping area. And we come in and, okay.
So we talk about planting for the 436 and all the planting in 442 as well. Does that seem, if we were to ask you for some trees to replace some of the stuff that got cut down?
That wouldn't be hard. My goal. I think
It's tough with the soil conditions.
Well, what works, and you've got to take a look at what does work very well, and it's probably the greatest ground cover people want is blueberries. They work. I mean, this whole area, Boulder, this area in here, there's just, and I've put blueberries in, but I've put in different, there are like 6 species.
Right.
So I'm sure that's most of it's one species, but I put in different species to use in diversity. And they've all worked.
Right. My concern, not my concern, but if this was my place that I was building,
Yeah.
certainly everything in the view here would be coming down.
No.
Get the old still out and not, right? So, and understandable. Really.
No, because I mean, you have this, you have an embankment. And
Yeah, it drops down and comes back up. I know it.
And if that,
It goes like this, right?
and along the outside, we call it the deer walk. It's
Uh,
a great little
Right.
pathway.
So maybe
Yeah.
keeping this, so.
You can't take down any of those trees.
It's like
yeah,
a sandbar
exactly.
at low
But
tide.
and that's. You're reading my mind on it. Taking these trees down, I think it is.
You can't do it.
They're holding that soil, like you said.
Yeah, is not a good idea from the flood perspective and also from the ecology perspective.
Yeah, the ones I took down and I dropped them down in here were the ones that were along this edge.
Right.
That I was planning on doing
Yeah,
something along the edge.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, you have to.
And the ones that I did over here, well, actually, they were in more of the middle, because that's where your septic system is going to
Right.
go. And that was before I had the test of the septic system. I'd send out that the perks and
The
the trees.
trees within or closer to.
Oh, of course,
Right.
yeah, oh, you want to leave those. I know that protects your bank
Yeah.
from being further eroded.
You have to get approved again from Department of Health for your septic.
Yes, but that's.
Was that approved in ground or did you?
No, in-ground.
Really?
Yeah, they had goes down maybe 8 feet soil.
Yeah.
That's why I have some
Right, and it's
confidence.
gravelly. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's
It's great.
glacial till.
Yeah.
So that's why I had some confidence that it'd be likely that if I dig over here, that I have room for a full base. If I only had room for 6 feet down, then my foundation could be 2 feet, 2.5 feet up.
Right.
And I could add fill around it. So, but I don't know what's there. Let's see.
So any. So I think,
Covered everything
I
else.
think-
setback from the road
yeah, setback from, yeah.
and
And the,
a full picture of the house, the porches and
right,
and
and the
decks.
dimensions that go along with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And then what we'll do is we'll make another motion to hold a public hearing.
I'm not sure I'm gonna get that, it
Okay.
was tight to get this.
Yeah.
I got it the first, after the close of business hours. You sent it to me at
Right.
5:30, so that's
Would
when
you
I.
prefer we make it a September public hearing to give you plenty of time?
Well, let me try. I'll tell them what I would like to have. And we've already gotten this far. And, I had them downsize this to be the proper dimension.
Right.
So getting a line in here. Getting,
And then the porch and then.
Maybe
So
we
it's
can
the cutoff
go with
date
the
is close.
site.
and
And if you move this
well, what if I leave
more
it?
in, then you have to let us know what the side yard's going to be if.
No, I'm not gonna
As you
move it. I'm gonna leave it as it is and then you will decide. I mean, I want something on paper so you can see it and if you said,
Right.
okay, you move it this way or that way. And then what we'll do is we'll produce a finalized site plan.
But you'll add the dimensions for the porch. and-
Well, for the next meeting,
Yeah.
I'll add the
Okay.
dimensions for the porch, and then once you make, if you approve a variance, we will adjust the site plan to reflect variance.
So at the beginning, were you planning already to move it back? It's
Yes,
Foundations.
already, about 6 feet.
6
I was thinking 6, because then I'd have, I'd cut into basically, it's a bank that's in here. And it would allow me not to go so far out this way. In fact, if I did that, it'd be just a tiny corner of this. The rest of it would be over here. Mostly a circle. Porch, these porch extensions 10 feet wide.
So wherever you're going to put it, if you're gonna move it back now, you're kind of just jealous.
Right.
Like the next meeting.
Okay, then.
So have your final area that you want the dwelling, including all of the porches, steps.
Because what I would probably do is just give you a sense. I might move it 5 feet this way and then 5 to 10 feet this way.
Put in whatever the-
Which would begin to give requiring less and less clearance. I mean, more and more clearance for the stream bank.
Hey, here's Charlie.
Okay.
And,
So- So
yeah.
we're looking for the, and I'm gonna give you this, so we have it.
Well, I have it.
Yeah, okay.
You
So
want
it's
the full dimension of the building setback from the road,
all right.
and I'll readjust the
Side yard setback, front yard setback. With the porch, the setback from the back.
Yep.
I think, so I'll make a motion that says, if that's submitted by August 5th, we'll schedule a public hearing. That's the ZBA cutoff date. Can you schedule a public hearing 2 weeks in advance?
yeah, that should be.
That's enough time? Okay, so the motion is, if Mr. Sturgis is able to provide a map with those dimensions on it by August 5th, we'll schedule a public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
question to sign. If I decide to do that soil addition, that comes before the zoning board again, or does it go through code?
So,
Code has been confusing for me.
yeah, I know, we'll find that out for you.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay,
Okay,
I like the idea of you wanting to do that soil condition to help alleviate some of the concerns around the
Yeah,
environmental.
but that
situation,
would
but-
come before the zoning board.
Right, the attaching a condition could be, but as far as deciding whether it's
Right,
appropriate or not, or legal or not, is not us. But I'll find that out, because I can't attach a condition to something that's not
Mhm.
legal.
right. Well, I don't want to put that as a condition
Exactly.
because it's an expense
It-
that I want to
Understood.
have time to be able to do it.
So I would explore some of that option as well between now and August 19th, so that you understand how
I already know the expense.
Yeah.
Because I explored that to look at the other site. And I had one of my contractor come and do what.
What's the material? You had the
Well-
$8 a yard, it's actually pretty cheap.
Well, it's glacial till, it's it's unseparated, you got boulders, you
You also
got
have the
clay.
spoils from the basement too.
Yeah,
sounds
but
like
the
they're
spoils from the
from,
basement will go over, I have to tell you, the spoils from the basement, if we have enough of it. Let me see where we are. This area is, over here is low.
Right.
It goes
Yep.
down, it actually forms a bit of a. I want to not only bring that up, but I want to bring it up along the road area. So you have a pole here, so it's right in here, goes down, and I can bring it up. 4 feet. To help. It won't level anything off. It'll just make it in proportion, it will look better. That's all. But we'll bring it up. It actually gives you more septic space. Because I wouldn't put the septic in until I've had the,
Yeah, to bring it up.
you want to bring it up, and then he has plenty of room to.
Right.
And it would be that kind of material that would work for that anyway, but I already got plenty. I've got like 8 feet at least. And in fact, her house, which is here, is like right on stone. She's on bedrock. And there's bedrock here on the side, and it goes over to here. So I'm assuming that there's a ton of soil in this area. We're talking 10, 15 feet.
Yeah, because that's down low. Yeah.
It's right below it. And it's and everything I see on the contour of bedrock itself, it just seems to not have any jagged edges. It seems, we've seen the stream, as my guess is what repeats. Because my ravine, which is in here, is pretty close to what's over here in the actual stream, but it has soil. So I may have a foot or so of soil, but it goes down the same slope. See,
Okay.
I won't know until I do it.
Thank you.
Charlie?
Yes, please. So let the record show that Charlie joined us at around 6:35.
Right, right.
6:40.
I will,
Oh, she's got it. Okay.
6:40.
She's not
All
tired.
right.
you say you don't need me?
We don't.
Thank you,
very much.
thank you for your.
Appreciate it.
Good to meet you.
Go back to you.
So the next item on the agenda, let's see if I can find it. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the June minutes. A motion to approve the June minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All right, take a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Just a reminder to get the training records into Nicole. She asked for those, so be sure to do that. That's all.
Is that about that? Huh? That's not about that?
That's that about that.
Brianna should have a war record.
Yeah, we want to make sure that it ties in. We have the ones that, I have what you carried over from last year, because we did that report to the board at the end of December, so I have what the ending balance was December of 2020.
I sent her the only copies I had.
Yeah, we should be good. I can tell you what I have down for you for 2020. You had carryover anyway, significant amount of one area. So, then you should look at the other agenda item. Get familiar with that for next time. Is the Trails End appeal, where this one is kind of interesting. They have a house. They have 2 lots that they have, and there's a house sitting right on the lot line. Just before. So, but that applicant wasn't able to attend this meeting, so she has to have pushed off. So just have a look at that one. So we're familiar with hit the ground running on it. Yeah, she's been waiting a while, actually. So, her survey, it's been, I think she was in September. August. So, that, any motion to adjourn?
Make that
I was gonna say, Charlie should make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
I was just sitting over the camera.
All in favor?
I remember this.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Went on the